Alright everybody, welcome back to the YouTube channel. As you can see, we're going under a little different name now. Instead of John Owen YouTube, it's gonna be John Owen Talks About Sports and Movies. And the reason I did this is because it's easier to find my channel now if you just type in John Owen Talks About as opposed to John Owen YouTube, because then it was coming up with all these other videos about some famous pianist, which apparently his name was John Owen too, so that was interesting. But anyways, this also gives me a chance to talk about just sports and movies and not whatever else I was going to talk about. So with all that being said, make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. The handles are in the bottom right corner, and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Anyways, let's get into it. Spider-Man is obviously one of the most popular characters of all fiction. His history has spurred multiple movie franchises, TV shows, and video games. And especially with the movies, there's always a debate of who is the best Spider-Man. And today we are going to tackle that question. Who is the best Spider-Man? Now we're only going to talk live action just because that's where the debate really is. And so sorry Miles Morales and all my Spider-Verse peeps, but this one's going to get held down to Toby, Andrew, and Tom. Alright, so with all that being said, what are the criteria for who is the best Spider-Man? So this is going to be who best plays Peter Parker and Spider-Man outside and in the suit. This is not a ranking of the movies, because that would be a really different video. This is not how good the movies are is not dependent on these actors' rankings and stuff like that. So just make sure that it's about how well they play Peter and how well they play Spider-Man. All right, now before we get started, I love all three actors that play Spider-Man. I think they're all three good. So this is just a personal ranking. It's just my opinion. If you have a different opinion, that's totally cool. Just make sure you leave it down in the comments below and be respectful. All right, anyways, let's get into the Spider-Man actors. All right, so we're going to start with the OG Tobey Maguire. So first we're going to talk about how he plays Peter Parker. Excuse me. So I believe that Tobey Maguire absolutely kills it as Peter. He does a really good job with kind of the quirky and the nerdiness and kind of the goofiness that is a traditional Peter Parker for sure. He nails all the really emotional scenes and the deep thinking and stuff. And in my opinion, he actually does the best that he could with the creepy Venom personality and the dancing and all that silliness in Spider-Man 3. So I believe that as Peter Parker, he absolutely nails it. And on top of that, he has really good chemistry with all of the other characters, MJ and Harry. I really like Peter and Harry just because I absolutely love Harry. But and then his chemistry and personal connection with all the villains, Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Sandman, Harry as the new Goblin, Brock as Venom. You know, he has really good chemistry with all of them and stuff like that. But he does look like a 26-year-old trying to play high school, very early college age student. You know, he's trying to be 18, 19, and I can clearly tell that, like, he's not that. So that's just a little weird. But it's really not a real personality. It's not a real big flaw to me. And then, but kind of for me, the downfall for Toby is kind of him as Spider-Man. His quips are well written, and I think that's what kind of carries him. But his delivery and stuff is all right. I guess it's not real like snappy or whatever. But the quips are well written, and he's a good enough actor to where they deliver. So really like him as Peter Parker. He's okay as Spider-Man. All right, next we're going to go to the Amazing Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield himself. Now, Spider-Man, I absolutely love him. His quips are really good. He's a really good delivery. He definitely matches the physique of Spider-Man. For me, he looks awesome in the suit. That's just because the Amazing Spider-Man suit is, well, amazing, as are all the Spidey suits. But really, the Amazing Spider-Man suit is awesome. But really good as Spider-Man. You know, his quips and his ability to just kind of pull out the physique is really good. Where we start getting the problems with Andrew is him as a high schooler. You know, he's kind of moody and broody and way too old to be a high school kid, no doubt. If there were high schoolers that looked like that in my high school, no one would even pay attention to any of us. It would just be him. And he's just like, and like, I don't know. It was just kind of weird him doing all the high school stuff. Like it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel natural. But his chemistry with the other people are really good. Him and Gwen Stacy is outstanding. That's definitely the best part out of these two films, no doubt, is the connection between him and Gwen Stacy and stuff like that. But just falls a little short for me doing the high school stuff, and that's where he is, and that's where it's set. So it just really doesn't fit well for me. Now, I feel like Andrew would benefit if they would have done an older Peter Parker, like maybe even out of college Peter Parker, like an adult Spider-Man. I feel like Andrew Garfield would have totally killed it. But for me, he does his best, but it's still just not really working for me. All right, next we're going to get into MCU Spider-Man himself, Tom Holland. Now, Tom Holland fits the high school mold, I guess you could say, the best. He definitely looks the youngest he is the youngest out of these three, obviously right now, but at the time of excuse me, at the time of the making of these movies, he's the youngest out of any of these guys ever were. He kind of pulls off the modern nerd away really good. And then as Spider-Man, Tom Holland's really athletic and stuff like that. So he actually does his flips and his stunts and some of the stunts like that. And he looks really good in the Spidey suit. So Tom Holland's just really good. His movies are good. Not that matters. All these movies are enjoyable for me. But I just think that Tom Holland kind of is really good in the role of Peter, and then he's good at Spider-Man, so I really don't have any holes to pick with either one of his performances. So now we're going to rank all of them. All right, number 3, Andrew Garfield. Love him as Spider-Man, really don't dig him as Peter. He's too old and broody and moody to be this high school person. If they would have gotten him out of high school, maybe late college, early post college, I think he'd be higher on this list, but he's not. So I feel bad because Andrew Garfield was really passionate about the role, absolutely loved Spider-Man, but I got to put my boy number 3. At number 2, we have the OG. I think for me, Tobey Maguire plays Peter Parker the best, but he's probably the worst Spider-Man. So I'm gonna put him right in the middle, just because I feel like that's fair. And at number 1, we have Tom Holland as Spider-Man. He's a good Peter Parker. He's a good Spider-Man. He fits both roles perfectly. And Stan Lee, the creator of Spider-Man, said that Tom Holland is what he envisioned Spider-Man would look like. So I can't argue with that. So that's my video. Thank you for checking it out. If you have a different opinion or the same opinion, make sure you leave it in the comments below. I'm always welcome and open to a discussion. Just make sure that you be respectful and you have a great day.